Hi, Sophie. I'm going to do the best I can. I think to some extent, your thesis here um, perhaps was already flawed a little bit. And I want to see if I can help you um, get to a thesis, or at least I'll give you some background here, and that should push you a little bit in a direction. Um, I think the watermark on this image that I'm showing you is by someone who's done some research on Lichtenstein and looking at source material. So the source material that's above the Lichtenstein painting below is much earlier. It's probably the 50s or 60s, early 60s. And it's from comic book. And Lichtenstein goes over it. The reason why I'm including this, right, is you say, while both artists use well-known figures in their work, Warhol typically used everyday objects, while Lichtenstein used imagery such as famous celebrities. Both using different forms of icons allow two artists to portray a feeling and messages in their works. A couple of things, right? In general, Lichtenstein doesn't use famous people. Warhol does that. So that's a little off. What he's doing is he's using imagery from kind of pulp fiction and comic books, and he uses those images and he glamorizes them, right? If we take a look at this, it's graphically more compelling, Lichtenstein's, and he's using the Ben-Day dots as a painter. Let's see if I have that here. Sorry. You can see the Ben-Day dots. Well, I didn't blow it up, but perhaps here you can. And those Ben-Day dots, right, allow it to be using mechanical reproduction in a way. Even though he's painting them, he's using the material of advertising and kind of popular fiction and popular mass marketing comic books and stories and stuff too as the new source material. So that idea of source material could be something that's really wonderful, right? Whatever arc you take, it could be glamour, this idea that Johns and Rauschenberg used the everyday material, whether it was a Savarin can, the Ballantine ale, a flashlight, a flag, a map for Johns, or Rauschenberg using a goat, an actual goat, or he's using the Coca-Cola bottle, right? He's using the everyday. And then we're not quite pop yet, but then now what is essentially pop? Is it the subject matter? Anything goes? Is it the advertising pieces? Is it the fact that it's part of mass production? And then if it is, then how do the means of production, whether it was Warhol's silk screening or Lichtenstein's using a mechanism, the Ben-Day dots, as a type of syntax to convey his work, that's up to you, right? But I think what you have to do is you have to start with prior to pop. What is pop? What is it doing? And if you're interested in the Lichtenstein-Warhol comparison, I think you're almost a little flip-flop there. But I'm gonna take this idea of glamour, right? And how it applies to people, appliances, food, brought about by the pop artists, and what does glamour look like today, and how it might connect to the work of the pop artists. It may not be what you're looking for, right? But I had very little to go on in a way with this thesis. Okay, but I don't know. You can write back to me, but I think regardless of what you choose, what I'm going to show you here and talk about here, that can help. So here, Warhol's showing, right, this movement towards glamour is one of his early works, this idea of plastic surgery, and he's using an actual advertisement, and then he makes a painting of that advertisement. So both in concept, movement towards glamour, and the selling of goods, right, and in the way he's producing it, he's using advertising as a way of making a painting, right? So those two things working together speak about the culture. This is where I would say that Warhol is using famous images. Marilyn Monroe was famous, but I'm not sure, and this is where you could get into glamour as an idea. Is he glamorizing her? Or is the piece of celebrity more important, right? And how does the way an artist portray a subject, right? How does the artist portray a subject contribute to whether it's glamorized or not, right? What does it do with the way and the mode of production, right? Is he glamorizing the electric chair? Is he taking a position? He's coloring it for sure. What's he doing with that? These are great questions for you to think about. I don't know if it's going to fit into your essay, though, or your art. Girl with Ball. He's definitely glamorizing like this idea of a girl playing with a ball at likely a beach because of that background, right? And it's a beach ball. So there's a type of glamour here, but she's not known to us. Who is she, right? She's just a girl. And she's titled as such. Whereas Warhol's Marilyn, diptych, right? With two halves. Wham! You know, in a way, it's a glamorizing kind of violence and war and that type of conflict. He's glamorizing the melodrama, right? It's really referencing those kind of pulp fiction-y cartoon books, you know? Again, so we don't know these people. They don't have specific names, right? They may have names as characters in their stories, but they're not Marilyn Monroe. They're not Elvis Presley that Warhol used, okay? Another thing to think about is how the pop artists using the materials of the time, right? The refrigerator here, the tin backing, right? The pancakes, these are printouts from advertising, and then the actual stuff. Like, how's he glamorizing food and appliances, and he's got plastic flowers, and he's got a reproduction of a Picasso there. So there might be something to that of the idea of what's real. That could be another thesis arc, is how the pop artist transformed the notion of reality or what we consider real. Can the advertising or the plastic item stand in as a proxy for the real thing? Can these fake meats and hot dogs and pancakes stand in as proxies? I don't know. It's just something to think about. Also, Rosenquist is interesting is that he glamorizes or sensualizes, so that's another word you might explore, where with the sensuality, that might be similar to Lichtenstein. There's a sensuality there, right? The sensuality of the grill of this car, right? The sensuality, this particular Ford, the sensuality of this these lips, or the sensuality of the form of this spaghetti-like thing, right? So that's a possibility too. Again, this is a Rosenquist piece, and this is, perhaps politically oriented. You have a fighting plane, you have this little girl, you have a mushroom cloud, like the nuclear bomb, and yet it's glamorized in a way, sensualized. So these are things to think about, okay? Make sure you do some your JSTOR searches, right? Because you need to have 2 JSTOR articles. Once you decide what direction you want to go in, really use those keywords to search for good JSTOR articles that are going to support you. Go deeply with this, okay? I know this is not as helpful as it could be because I'm not exactly sure the direction you want to go in. So please watch this. If this helps you, go for it, right? Do a full draft, and then I'll look at it. If this is helpful but you have questions, get those questions to me as soon as possible. Okay, Sophie? All right. Have a great one.